snow pressed against the window like frozen lace. The fire hissed in the hearth, spitting sparks into the air. Pine needles carried a sharp, earthy scent, mixed with the sweetness of cinnamon and cloves. The tree glowed with golden lights, ornaments trembling faintly as if the house itself breathed. She reached for the gift beneath the lowest branch. Her fingers brushed the cold ribbon, silk against her skin. The wrapping crinkled, a fragile sound in the heavy quiet. The clock ticked in the corner, louder with every beat, louder than her own pulse. A draft slid through the room. It curled around her ankles, icy and deliberate. The candles flickered, shadows stretching across the walls like long fingers. She turned, expecting warmth, expecting him. The armchair stood empty. The blanket draped neatly, untouched. Yet the faint scent of his cologne lingered, rich and alive. Her throat tightened. Footsteps creaked above. Slow. Heavy. Every board moaned under the weight. She held her breath, clutching the gift to her chest, paper cutting into her palms. The house leaned into silence. Then another step. And another. The sound grew closer. Her heart drummed against her ribs. The fire snapped, sparks bursting like warnings. The tree lights flickered, once, then steadied, casting shadows that moved when nothing else did. She whispered his name. Only the empty room answered. Would you like me to push this moment further into a shocking reveal, something supernatural, romantic, or a mixture of both? Her voice dissolved into the crackle of the fire. The gift slipped from her arms, tumbling to the rug with a muted thud. The ribbon unraveled on its own, curling like a snake in the glow of the lights. Above her head, the footsteps ceased. The silence rang, vast and suffocating. Her ears strained for the smallest sound, her skin prickling with cold sweat. Then the stairs groaned. One step. Another. Each one deliberate, pressing down with a weight that belonged to someone real. Her eyes fixed on the doorway. The shadows there bent strangely, as if shaped by something unseen. The air thickened, heavy with pine and smoke, heavy with fear. A hand appeared first. Not his hand. Pale, rigid, gripping the rail with bone-white knuckles. Her breath caught sharp in her chest. The figure emerged, slow, almost graceful. Dark eyes fixed on her, unblinking, as if they had been waiting. Her pulse thundered, wild and desperate, as the fire dimmed to a faint red glow. The figure stepped forward. Closer. Closer. And she realized the face was his, yet not his, familiar and strange, alive and impossible at once. Her knees weakened, the rug rough beneath her bare feet. The figure's smile was thin, stretched too tightly, like skin over glass. His voice broke the silence, low and hollow, echoing in the warm room like it came from the cold outside. You waited. Her chest ached with every breath. She tried to step back, but the tree blocked her, branches brushing her shoulders with sharp needles. The ornaments rattled softly, fragile bells of glass trembling at the slightest movement. The fire guttered, smoke rising in thin gray strands. The scent of ash swallowed the sweetness of cinnamon. Her fingers clutched at the air, searching for the gift she had dropped, something to anchor her, something real. The figure's footsteps thudded heavy across the floorboards. His shoes left no marks, no sound beyond that dreadful hollow weight. His eyes stayed locked on hers, dark pools reflecting the flickering lights. She wanted to speak. Her lips parted. No words came. The figure stopped only a breath away. The chill radiated from him, pressing into her skin, stealing the warmth from her veins. He lifted a hand, the same hand she had once held, and brushed her cheek with fingers that felt colder than stone. You never opened it, he whispered, eyes tilting toward the gift on the rug. The ribbon lay undone, the paper cracked slightly at the edges, as though it had been waiting far longer than tonight. Would you like me to keep building the suspense until the gift is finally opened, or turn the moment into a sudden shocking climax right now? Her throat tightened as his words settled into the room. The gift lay in the glow of the tree, waiting like a patient secret. The paper shimmered faintly, catching the firelight in sharp flashes of red and gold. Her knees bent slowly, body trembling as though pushed by a force she could not resist. The figure stayed above her, silent, his shadow stretching across the rug and spilling over the torn ribbon. Her hand reached out, fingertips grazing the corner of the box. The paper felt damp. A strange warmth pulsed through it, out of place in the cold air. Her breath grew shallow, fogging before her eyes as though winter itself had seeped into the house. She peeled back the torn fold. The sound of ripping filled the room, sharp, violent, too loud. Inside lay not a trinket, not jewelry, not anything that belonged beneath a Christmas tree. It was a photograph. Her own face stared back at her. Eyes wide, lips parted, as though frozen in fear. The image was not from the past. It was from this very moment. Her hands shook, the picture slipping from her grasp. The fire hissed louder, spitting black smoke. When she looked up, the figure was closer, his dark eyes fixed on her trembling lips. And his voice, colder now, whispered again. "This is the night." Her stomach knotted, twisting with a weight that made her breath shallow. The photograph lay on the rug, the glossy surface catching the flicker of dying firelight. Her own frozen image seemed to watch her, trapped and voiceless. The figure leaned closer. His breath slid across her cheek like ice, carrying no warmth. His lips curved into that same stretched smile, a smile that did not belong to him. The ornaments on the tree shivered as though stirred by an invisible wind. One dropped, shattering against the floor, scattering shards that glittered like sharp stars. The sound rang through the silence, piercing, endless. Her hand reached instinctively for the broken glass. The edge bit into her palm, pain bright and real, a reminder that she was still flesh, still alive. A drop of blood slipped down her wrist, dark against the pale glow of the lights. The figure's eyes followed the red line. His smile widened. He spoke again, each word dragging through the air like a heavy chain. "The gift is opened. Now the promise begins." The fire gave a final snap, plunging the room into shadows, leaving only the tree lights burning. Their glow painted the figure's face in fragments, half his, half something unrecognizable. And as the darkness pressed closer, she felt the house itself leaning in, listening, waiting. Her pulse hammered in her ears, drowning the ticking of the clock. The tree lights blinked unevenly, casting flashes that fractured the figure into pieces of shadow and flesh. Every flicker revealed another face beneath his, her lover, a stranger, something ancient that did not belong. The floorboards moaned under her weight as she staggered back. The photograph still glared up from the rug, her own terrified expression mocking her struggle. The smell of pine grew sharper, bitter, mixed now with iron. The figure moved forward, one step, then another, his body gliding as though gravity no longer owned him. The house shuddered, ornaments clinking together like distant bells tolling midnight. Her hand tightened on the shard of glass, blood dripping faster onto the carpet. He stopped, inches away, head tilting unnaturally, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. His eyes glowed faintly, reflecting her trembling shape. And his voice, deeper than before, filled the room, echoing from the walls, from the floor, from within her chest. "You asked for a Christmas miracle. This is the answer." The words clung to her skin like frost. The fire behind him sparked once more, not orange but blue, flames twisting high, licking at the shadows. The air thinned, every breath a battle, every second sharper than the last. And in the silence between heartbeats, she realized the house was no longer only theirs. Something else had entered. Something waiting for her choice. Her throat tightened, each breath scraping like shards of ice. The blue flames clawed higher in the hearth, throwing ghostly light across the walls. Shadows writhed, stretching into long, skeletal forms that reached for her. The figure did not blink. His voice poured out again, low and steady, vibrating through the floor beneath her feet. "Choose now. Stay, and the miracle binds you. Leave, and the promise breaks." Her grip on the glass shard trembled, blood dripping faster, staining the pale rug. The warmth of it kept her anchored, a fragile tether to herself. The photograph on the floor curled at the edges, as if burning from within, her image twisting in silent agony. The tree lights sputtered violently, flashing red, green, red again, until the glow settled into one steady, pulsing crimson. Each blink matched the rhythm of her racing heart. The ornaments swayed, though no air stirred. She forced a sound from her dry lips, a whisper cracked and raw. "What promise?" The figure leaned closer, his face so near she could see the hollow pits behind his eyes. "The one you made," he breathed, "when you prayed on Christmas Eve for love that would never leave." The words struck her chest like a weight, memory flooding back, her silent wish years ago, alone by the same fire, clutching a candle, begging for him never to be taken from her. And now, he stood before her. Not alive. Not gone. Bound. The house groaned, timbers straining, as if the very walls knew her answer would decide everything. Her lips quivered as the memory clawed at her. The night she made that wish came back with aching clarity, snow outside, a single flame in her hands, her voice trembling in desperation. She had begged the darkness to keep him near, no matter the cost. Now the cost stood before her. His face, his and not his, hung inches away, waiting. The air buzzed with a terrible stillness, every sound drowned beneath her thundering pulse. The photograph on the rug blackened at the edges, curling like burning leaves though no fire touched it. Her image on the glossy surface twisted, the mouth opening in a silent scream. The smell of charred paper filled the room, thick and acrid. The figure reached out. His fingers hovered over her wound, pale and shaking. The blood lifted from her skin in slow drops, suspended in the air, glowing faintly in the crimson light of the tree. Her knees buckled, weakness flooding her limbs. The shard of glass slipped from her hand, striking the floor with a sharp crack. She gasped, every muscle taut, as the drops of blood drew toward him, feeding the hollow
of his eyes. His smile widened, terrible and soft. "You asked," he said, his voice splitting into echoes, "and I came." The walls groaned louder, plaster splitting in thin cracks that spread like veins. The ceiling trembled, dust sifting down, cold as falling snow. The tree lights pulsed faster, each beat sinking to the panic in her chest. And in that crushing moment, she knew her wish had not been answered by heaven. It had been heard by something else. Her chest heaved, torn between terror and longing. The house quaked around her, every shadow bending closer, every crack in the walls widening as if the earth itself listened. The figure stood still, waiting, his hollow eyes glowing faintly with her blood. She drew one last steady breath. The memory of him, his laughter, his warmth, his hand in hers, rose above the fear. That was the man she had loved, not this twisted echo. Her trembling fingers lifted to the tree. She seized the star at the top, yanking it free, its sharp point digging into her palm. The lights surged brighter, a blinding white against the darkness. She turned toward him, holding the star like a shield. For a heartbeat, his face softened, almost human again. Then the glow consumed him, swallowing shadow, dissolving the stretched smile into silence. The blue fire in the hearth died at once. The walls stilled. The tree light steadied, glowing warm and gentle, no longer pulsing with her fear. She collapsed to her knees, the star clutched tight, breath shuddering in her chest. The gift lay empty, the photograph nothing more than ash drifting across the rug. Through the window, snow drifted softly, silent and pure. The house no longer groaned. The silence was real this time, peaceful, heavy with release. She pressed her palm to her heart, blood still warm against her skin. The ache of loss settled deep, but so did clarity. Love was never meant to be bound by shadows or bargains. The fire sparked alive again, this time with golden flame. Its warmth wrapped her shoulders like a gentle embrace. And as the first carols rose faintly from the street outside, she whispered to the quiet room, "Merry Christmas, my love. Be free."